I will box her.
Good luck.
I'm Megan, and Andrew's on guitar. It's nice to meet you guys.
Yes, the other Andrew.
Yes, this is Andrew.
You're not the only Andrew in the world.
Really?
He's definitely the other Andrew.
So I'm gonna read a few poems. And this first one is called A Group of Oak Trees on the Coast. A group of oak trees I encounter near the coast remind me of you. Outlines cast by the gloaming passage of time, subject to the desires of an itinerant body of water, unfurled through some curious longing. A shadow more important than the flesh, anchored in the sand or above it. I desire all knowledge, tapping on a tree to awaken what is underneath, but only my hands are here, stirring. Under a canopy of moonlight, an ocean in the distance erecting sounds, I am overwhelmed by the need for what I have not experienced, and for what these oaks insist upon. And so I was going to kind of break each poem up with a quote I like a lot. And
okay, go on.
And this first one is from a short story called The Voices of Time by J.G. Ballard. You're not alone, Powers. Don't think you are. These are the voices of time, and they're all saying goodbye to you. Think of yourself in a wider context. Every particle in your body, every grain of sand, every galaxy carries the same signature. As you just said, you know what the time is now, so what does the rest matter? There's no need to go on looking at the clock. This next poem is called The Room. Your voice in the graying room becomes, for me, a nocturne in minor chords, some pattern subsidiary to what is manifest, walls engendered by my thoughts, giving rise to windows which look upon dying palms, our scents mixed into the air we use to keep smelling each other, a hanging mask the size of two heads that is neither wood or plastic and feels like flesh as I touch it. The clock on the floor dismissing time. So to prescribe words to the sounds coming from your mouth would dogmatize meaning and make of the light fading in this place something more than a moment we are experiencing.
Yeah.
Thank you. So this next quote is from one of my favorite poets. He's from Mexico and his name's Octavio Paz. We turn and turn in the animal belly, in the mineral belly, the belly of time, to find the way out, the poem. This next poem is inspired by Donatello's bronze sculpture of David. Months after the sculpture's completion, where the bronze flesh of the boy leaned actively into the dismembered head of a giant, one toe burrowed into the beard, working to clarify the triumph of innocence. Donatello dreamed of the young king's feet, each one moving over his body, his stomach, his genitals, maneuvering the skin of the legs until they disappeared. The sculptor woke, still sensing each indentation, overcome by a need for disembodiment, that urge one gets against the self when observing the forms of other life. But it was a form he created that encouraged him to crawl out of bed and chisel at his own flesh, a part separate from the whole that led him to believe the moment of creation had turned against him, and that the rock which sprung from the hands of that smiling child was not meant to reach the Philistine, but the balding head of the artist himself. Okay, so this is a poem by a French poet named Arthur Rimbaud from a collection of his prose poems called The Illuminations, and it's actually translated by one of my favorite poets named John Ashbery, and it's called To a Reason. A tap of your finger on the drum releases all sounds and initiates the new harmony. A step of yours is the conscription of the new men in their marching orders. You look away, the new love. You look back, the new love. Change our fates, shoot down the plagues, beginning with time, the children sing to you. Build wherever you can the substance of our fortunes and our wishes, they beg you. Arriving from always, you'll go away everywhere. Alright, so this last poem is called After Driving Through the Desert and Reading Octavio Paz. Silence was born in the desert between two yucca trees. I write about the desert to create silence between words. Words like trees that begin in the dirt and move toward the firmament. Except my words move toward nothing but the memory of a silent desert full of yucca trees. The rocks are silent. The distant lake carried no noise, and I became the phonemic variant of all language. The desert is words that are muted. My knowledge of words bears no sound, but the desert is the true arbiter of silence. My silence was born in the snow-covered desert, and I heard what we have not yet heard and what we thought to never hear.